Oh, right. So, it's the end of the year. Depressing. And there's been a lot of albums. I think this year has been one of the, I say this every year, one of the best years for metal. Whoa. There's been some fantastic records out this year. Half of them it's difficult to even get round to, let alone, review or at least listen to it more than once. So, I'm just going to do I won't, not too long, but top 10 albums of 2019. So, you're probably going to disagree with every single one. But this is my little subjective thing. So, we'll start at the bottom and then go up. As usual ones. So, we'll start with one that's going to be a little controversial to some people because I can see that I've seen a lot of people raving about them. Is Blood Incantation, History of the Human Race. See, I know, please abstain from the stones. My reason being is because even though it is a decent album, it's very short. It's like EP length, long, like a decent EP. 30 or 34 minutes I think it was. And the problem is I felt inconclusive. I wanted more and there wasn't, so it was a bit like, See, all that prog and death metal psychedelic influences just didn't quite pay off for me. Even though what they did do was very, very cool. Like, the album was very interesting, quite experimental, and very psychedelic and jazzy, and it had these really cool moments. But obviously the death metal was there all the way through. Really reminiscent of death, fantastic stuff. I won't go on too long. So that's my number 10. Number 9 is Fleshgod Apocalypse, Veleno. Now, this album's pretty goddamn tasty. The reason it's not any higher is mainly because, well, you'll find out why. There's albums that are better or just as good. I've only heard it a couple of times, but it's definitely up there. It's one of the most aggressive albums they've released in quite a while. And it's less operatic, more just to the face. Death metal. Really, really good stuff. I'll probably listen to it again soon as well. Yeah, so that's definitely my number 9 spot. It's just Fleshgod, but heavy. You know what you're in for. And then at number 8, we have God Eater. All Flesh is Grass. God Eater are from the UK. They're quite underground. They're underground, yeah. And they've released All Grass is Flesh, which is a really cool... All Flesh is Grass, sorry. Which is a really cool name for an album. Really cool. I've never heard these guys before. I've seen their logo dotted about on bills, but never actually gave them a shot. Glad I did, because Jesus, Mother of God, like, that album is blistering. I've seen some releases this year from very, big bands, but, like, God Eater really stood up there with them. They brought a really interesting dynamic of thrash, death metal, bit of core, it's a bit of melody and symphony, very Fleshgod-y, but imagine like a thrash Fleshgod is the best way of explaining them. Really, really cool stuff. I can see them doing very well next year. This album, in my opinion, should take them up, but we'll see how it goes. After that, we got Beyond Creation, the Algorithm. The least liked Beyond Creation album, I think. I really like it, though. I think it's really, really good. The concept, obviously, is about society and how we're all algorithmic, and it's very interesting. The album itself is a little criticised to be a little too samey, but 'tis tech death. It's all going to sound kind of the same, but really decent album. It's probably one of the better releases they've had. I really, really like the production on this album. It's so clean, but it retains that dirty, interesting edge to it, while remaining heavy as balls. And then number fucking 6. Oh my god, number 6 already. We've got Abigail Williams, Walk Beyond the Dark. Fantastic album. See, I've seen Abigail Williams before live, and I'm quite a fan of them. But this album for me was my yes. Like, this album is the best thing they've done, in my opinion. And if you're watching, guys, hats off. Like, yeah, this album's incredible. It shocked me how good it was. I was like, this is awesome. It's a really good mix of melody, black metal, and a bit of post black metal, but not really. It's more of this amalgamated mix. It's quite unique. There's nothing else quite like doing what they just did with that album. They released it quite late in the year, so there's a good chance it may have completely skipped your radar. If you haven't heard this album, go listen to it. It's brilliant. And then number 5 already. Jesus. Number 5, we've got Borknagar, True North. You've probably heard this album. It's pretty great. It's the perfect mix of black metal and power metal with tons of harmonies and choruses and basically ballads, but it blends the two so well. And you know the songs. Like, there's some of them that I feel like are gonna be played for years. Like, it's such a good fucking album. Like, it's really up there. And I've never been the biggest fan of Borknagar. I've always thought they were pretty good, but True North is definitely their standout record. And here's a bit of a curveball. I don't know anything about these guys. I just heard them once, and it was like, bang, I love this. They're called The Ritual Aura. The album is called Velothi. Velothi. These guys are fucking awesome. It's like experimental tech death jazz with orchestras. I know orchestras, like, actual piano instrumentations. It's fucking awesome. Like, if you haven't heard this, hear it. If you're a fan of your techie stuff and you like something a bit jazzy and experimental, this. Yes, The Ritual Aura. Really, really good stuff. So that's my number 4. That album was phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. Number 3, we have Tool. A lot of people are just like, the Tool album's not very good. And I'm like, it's Tool though. They could release a box of shit and I'd probably like it. Oh boy. Anyway, but yeah, so if you're an Inoculum, it's a great album. A lot of people get very funny. They're expecting more, where I wasn't. I was expecting less, so I was forever not disappointed. I think it's a great album. It's one of the best albums they've released. It's much more subtle, more quiet, or calmer, kinder. Like, it's a very dark and sad album. I think it's brilliant, and we should all. I think if you haven't heard it, listen to it. And if you have heard and you don't like it, you're wrong. Number 2, we've got Warforged, Voices. This album's fucking awesome. Absolutely loved it. Like, it is a visceral black and death metal techie nightmare. They actually do a whole like a music video of the entire album, and it's so worth your time. It is an hour and a bit. I can't remember how long it was, but it's so interesting. That I loved that. I thought that was such a cool way to do an album, because it kind of took you on a narrative journey through the album. I just thought that was brilliant. And number 1, I haven't mentioned it. You know who it is. It's Cattle. Decapitation, Death Atlas. This album is the most emotionally moving album I have heard this year. Like, this album, it paints the bleakest, most depressing picture of the future and the current situation we're in. It's not about just climate emergency, it's about everything that has affected around it, the refugee crises and things like that, and the war-torn countries and resource scavenging and fighting and things like that. It really covers a lot of elements which I don't think, apart from a couple of other bands, aren't really highlighting as a thing, like Gajira. I think that was like one thing. But yeah, like it's just such a good album, and it's probably the most experimental Cattle I've ever been. But I think this is purely the end of the trilogy. You know, Monolith, Anthropic Extinction, I can't even speak, Anthropomorphic Extinction, and Death Atlas. It's the trilogy of like human condition, and you know, kill each other, pollute the planet dies, we should all die, as some, you know, because we're destroying it. You know, really, really fantastic. If you haven't heard it, if you don't even like heavy, like, you know, grind, it doesn't matter. It's not. It's like 50% melody and harmonies and vocal. It's the most strangest album they've released, and I feel like it makes sense in their career, you know, especially with the direction that they're going. But yeah, like, so that's my top 10. You're probably going to disagree with some of them. If you haven't heard of some of them, even more reason to listen to them. I've got some honourable mentions, so I'll get through these quick as I can. We've got Klone, Le Grand Voyage, really atmospheric, very prog rocky, really good stuff. Alcest, Spiritual Instinct, great album, but just didn't quite cut through the other ones. Esoteric, pyrrhic existence, pyrrhic, I don't know. Really dark, atmospheric as fuck, but really long, elongating. You really got to be in the mood for it. Democratus, Damnation, South Walian kind of power death metal band. Really cool. They just released that EP. Blood Oath, INFERNUM Rex Diabolus. Really good stuff. You know, classic death metal with a real modern edge. It's got that kind of stomp to it all the way through. Really good record. Elyrean, Blacken the Sun, Silosis Reborn. It's a great EP. It's not quite an album, hence why it doesn't go on Album of the Year. But it's really good stuff. I can see them doing very well in the future. You've got Mad Spanner, Life Absurd. Bizarre, grindy, punk metal. Really funny, very existential screaming in an album, basically. And we've got Apostate at the Tome of Sanity. This was almost in my top 10, but it didn't quite make the cut with the other bands. Really cool stuff. Old school death metal with a nice techie twist. Really good stuff. Great riffs. Cammo Shorts, Don't Lose Your Shit. Fantastically fun album. It reminds me of early Napalm and bands like that. It's absolutely brilliant. Really good fun if you want to wake up in the morning. And we've got Synthesis, Waste of Space Orchestra. Really cool stuff. Very trippy and out there. Oh, and also Ashbourne Awakening. UK groovy, deathy-esque, bit thrash, but it's got a bit of everything in it. Like, it's a solid album. Also, Cadaver Soiree, I think that's how you pronounce it. To Betray the Creator. Kind of old school, gritty death metal, very, very true to its roots. Good stuff. I quite enjoyed it, to be honest. Oh, also, and as well, we had a Bodach, a Flickering Wick, kind of experimental, fuzzy, kind of metal, rock thing. It's quite an interesting listen. I would heavily recommend it. You also got Winterstorm, Relapse in Time. Good album. If you like your power metal, and I mean straight to the point sort of power metal, but it's very good. Like, the musicianship is very good in it. If you like your guitar work, it's an album for you, definitely. Also, cannot forget Dog Tired, The Electric Abyss. It would have been on my top 10, but you've seen my top 10. I'm sorry, lads. It's, again, too many really good albums this year. Also, Bloodchurch as well. It's a very interesting combination of black metal, deathcore, and death metal. They've released one EP, very interesting, very culty, esoteric, dark. Like, recommend it. You had The Odious. It almost got to my top 10. Sorry, lads. They got a vest. Hold on, I need to read this. Vesica Pisces. Really interesting, super psychedelic, super weird. Recommend it heavily. Oh, and Flub as well. Almost forgot Flub. Very techy, wankery, but in all the best ways possible. Really interesting. Don't take themselves too seriously. Really cool band. You got Atlas Eternal, Beneath the Cosmic Silence. That was a really good album. Very interesting prog death. All done by one guy as well, which is pretty cool. And then you've got Xilla. Xilla are a very soft prog rock band from /metal from the UK. Really interesting stuff. It can be a bit too soft palate for some people. I did quite enjoy it though, to be fair. I thought it was a great album. You got the Godthrum EP, Dead in the Studio. It was I think it was a 2-track one. I think it was. Can't remember now. But it was it was a live studio EP, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. We've got Dorulus Without Sin. This was fucking awesome. It's just Lamb of God but heavy. That's a thing. Now that's the last one. Okay, right, we got the last one. Isbjorg Iridescent. Fantastic. Like, from, I think they're Danish, yeah. Oh, then we've still got more. Jesus, it's too many bands. But yeah, they're really good, very proggy, really cool stuff. And then we've got the Siderian, or Siderian. I thought this was brilliant. Like, it's a mix of groove and black metal with a bit of thrash in it. It's fucking good. Like, it's a really good record. Who else? Oh, Psychelic England, or Psychelic England. I don't know how to pronounce it now. I'm pretty sure Jorg's told me. This Hollow Land EP, really dark, thick, like grim, like bleak, very atmospheric as well. Really good black metal if you like your, proper harsh black metal. Also, yeah, and Dicosis as well, Sadistic Killing Machine. I'm also not sure if all these albums came out this year. I'm just going for the ones that I've listened to and I remember at least reviewing or... yeah, so Dicosis, that was very grim, very gritty. Mage as well. Mage, The Key to the Universe. I thought it was... I thought it was a good album, but I wasn't blown away by it. The musicianship was great and the production was great, but I feel like they could have pushed it a bit harder. It's still a good record though. Dead River Kings, Hymns of Hope and Despair, fucking brilliant. Like, definitely recommend that one. We've got Sworn Amongst, Reclamation. It's fucking awesome. The artwork's awesome as well. Like, really good record. We got Gozer, self-titled, really psychedelic, fuzzy, doomy stuff, real good shit. But those are my honourable mentions. If I've missed any, I apologise. I mean, I'm only one man, and I only have so much time. But yeah, so that's my top 10. Feel free to comment things I've missed that you think I should have considered. Not like it's going to change my list, but, it is what it is. But yeah, so... This is my last video of the year. I've only been doing these for like a month anyway, so. But yeah, so in January I'll be doing another video. Hopefully I'll get a body in here to do some reaction thing with me. I'm gonna try and upgrade my setup a little bit. At the moment I'm just using a good camera and using the light on it and stuff. The actual camera microphone is what's picking up all my voice, and it's actually really good. Like, it's a really good microphone. So I do have a regular condenser microphone, but it's too sensitive and it just picks up absolutely everything. So it's a bit irritating to listen to if you're on the other side. So I digress. But it was, yeah, so that's my top 10. But I will see you next year. So have fun, have a great Christmas, have a great New Year. Smash some heads, drink some beer, and eat food, basically. And be good to each other. There's too much negativity at the moment. Okay. Goodbye.